What's up, Juventus? Welcome back to the AJ's here channel dedicated to Juventus. It is a victory show, all right? So we get the job done against Paphos, and never in doubt, as I say. Okay. Maybe not if you're watching that first half, but nonetheless, the result is what mattered most. Obviously, picking Juve up to 17th now in the table in Champions League on 9 points. It was a victory that had to come, and yes, frustrations throughout and a lot of questions still there for this Juve side and Spalletti. Will he start to make changes? Were we starting to see signs that the changes are to come? We're going to tackle it all together on this victory show with Trimbley here. Trimbley, how are you doing, brother?
I'm doing well. Good morning to everybody in the Army chat. Victory shows are always a lot better than my previous post-match experience with the Napoli match. I was pretty ticked off about that. But needless to say, there's a lot to dissect. I still think that, we can't be too happy, like, in terms of the way the match went. We're happy we got the result, but we'll get into it more. But no, it's good to have the 3 points. We got to just bank them and now move forward. That's for sure.
Absolutely. That's the key, is getting the victory. I always say we're going to have work to do. And even if this team was undefeated to this point, you should never be satisfied and always still be hungry and still have work to do. So I'd rather be winning and have work to do, all right? What's up to everybody in the Army that's dropping in here? Make sure you take a second to hit that like button, okay? And subscribe to the channel if you're tuning in to this for the first time, all right? And if you're listening to it on your audio outlets, get over to YouTube and subscribe. I don't know what you would be waiting for. The next kit up for grabs in our December giveaway to all subscribers that you are eligible for is the third kit with yesterday's man of the match, Kenan Yildiz, on the back. And for our AJC Army veterans in membership status that are vets, well, actually not vets, legends tier, you guys are up for the 120th anniversary Juventus kit. All right. And because we have Natale this month, okay, I've got a surprise coming later on this month. So it pays to subscribe, everybody. But we're going to have a lot of fun here, okay? We are going to have a lot of fun tackling this game. Now, before we get to the game, in the headlines, there is not a whole lot today. But there is a birthday to a very special player for me, one of my favorites, and that is Fabrizio Ravanelli. Celebrates his birthday today. Of course, goal scorer in the game that we last won a Champions League title in 1996 against Ajax. 1-1, went to penalty shots, and of course, he was the goal scorer in that game. So, yeah, one of my absolute favorites. The dude throughout his entire life, I think, always looked like he was at the age of 65, okay, with the white hair there, but just an absolute beauty. One of my earliest memories with Juventus was Fabrizio Ravanelli, and that trident formed with Roberto Baggio and Gianluca Vialli. So, happy birthday there to Fabrizio Ravanelli. Now, other headlines? Not really much. Bremer, it's a guessing game as to whether he's going to get some minutes in that next matchup against Bologna. Might actually be Roma, but again, we wait and see. And we'll talk about how much of a rush Juve should really be taking there, as we will talk about the back line, as that's a couple games now. Little shaky, but we'll talk about the cleanup necessary there and old Gleison Bremer. Now, get to the goods, everybody. Starting 11 going into this match against Paphos. Di Gregorio, Kalulu, Kelly, Cope Miners, McKennie, Locatelli, Miretti, Cambiaso, Conceição, Yildiz, David. I gotta be quite honest, I didn't have any issues with that starting lineup. The fact that it's Paphos, etc. You guys know where I stand, though. I said I do believe in a theory around this middle of the park, and that I probably push to something a little bit different in terms of setup, because we shouldn't just be focusing on who we're playing. We need to focus on something that we can see sustainable and we can build off long term in the setup. And that's why I would have opted for a 3-5-2. But this should still get the job done. So I didn't really have any problems at all. Just go take care of business. You're at home to Paphos. Trim, anything to add with the starting 11 that you saw there?
Actually, yeah, and it's gonna tie into a segment later on in the show, but I don't understand how Cambiaso is still getting starts. Like, I'm not gonna take away from the God-given ability that he has. We all know the kind of player that he can be, but for me, he's just been super shaky, and I don't know what it is. I think he just needs to have a seat for a little bit, come in spot duty as a sub. I wouldn't mind that, but just as a starter, I just don't think he's there. He seems checked out mentally. A lot of balls are bouncing off him, so that would have been the only sub I would have made. Now the question is, who do you put there? I would have probably put McKennie on that side. And to be honest, Chico didn't start, but one of these guys between Jagrova and Chico, someone's got to figure out how to play outside wide on the right or the left. I'd like to see them experiment with that to get them both on the field at the same time.
I might say blow it up entirely. So we'll wait. We'll wait on that one and what we're going to go up against, because in the end, I think I'm going back to square one as to where I was with this group of players. And this is probably one of the challenging things that Spalletti is going to have to face coming out of this game. Because like we say, it's a result, but there's a lot of questions there. There. And let's get to the highlights real quick, though. Guys, what's up, Dear 1S? In here, Aldo, Teo, Giuseppe Cataldo, Tuna. Guys, Jammers in here. Winner of a kit recently. Magical Realism 82. Buongiorno tutti. Let's go. Get those likes up, boys. Now, 4th minute. Long diagonal ball from Paphos, okay? And just hit us right away. There was like, in the end, they get it in front of our goal, and there's a little bit of a back heel. And I got to say, I'm not 100% sure Di Gregorio stopping that if that thing's on target. It was almost like it caught him off guard. And I got to say, little bit suspect there. Nonetheless, Juve comes through unscathed. 7th minute, right back at Paphos. And Yildiz tries Ala Del Piero. That one forces a save. Okay. 31st minute, Paphos running at us. Ball sits at the top of the area. They smash this one off the woodwork. Okay. I couldn't believe what I was seeing at the start of this game. Paphos is in our house. We're going back and forth with Paphos at home, and we're looking suspect every time they run at us at the back. This was insane. I was like, oh no. Like, guys, turn this around, take control. But that's the type of game it was. They get an ensuing corner off this hit off the woodwork, and they volley smash this thing at the top of the area. Luckily, it's right down the pipe, and Di Gregorio tips this one over his bar. But you got to think, if that's a foot over to each side, that's probably a problem. Zipping this through. But holy shit, I'm like, Paphos is cornering. They're just pinging this thing to the top of the area and driving a volley at us. I'm like, what the hell are we putting in the water bottles for the traveling teams when they come into our house that they look like this? Shut it down. Halftime comes, it's 0-0. You know, and we had a chance there where obviously David is close on goal, but I you know, it's a reactionary play. I get it. We all just, you know, you could freeze frame it, and even the announcers took shots saying, oh, you know, you got to score from there so easy. And then all of a sudden he backtracks on himself once the replay. Well, it is reactionary. His color commentary kicks in. It is reactionary, and his back's towards goals. So, you know, hopping around. But nonetheless, it's Paphos. You're 0-0. Chances like that are going to stand out. That's just the nature of the beast. But I was more infuriated by the overall. I'll be 100% honest. Like, you know, say whatever you want. If you're on the side, he's got to finish that. If you're on the side that it's a bang-bang play off a header reactionary, taking a swipe, I really don't care. For me, pitiful first half from Juve overall. Just shambles.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, so it's funny that volley reminded me of like a prime Roberto Carlos. I saw that. I was like, Jesus Christ, these guys are literally turning into prime Real Madrid right now. So there was that. Then the David chance, I'll be honest, 9 times out of 10, you guys know he's my boy. I'm always on the side of, okay, that's a tough chance for a striker. But in that moment, I actually think he needed to bury that. And again, it is what it is.
And
he
that's
missed,
fair.
but
Yeah.
he makes good on it later on in the match. But again, to your point, it's like that's not going to gloss over the fact that we were asleep at the wheel. Like it was brutal, man. Like I was actually thanking my lucky stars that we didn't concede, because I was pretty convinced after seeing a couple of woodworks, the one volley off the crossbar, like I'm like, what more luck do we need to keep the ball out of the net? And Di Gregorio can't be faulted. I've seen a lot of, in the chat about how we've been hard on him in the last few matches or recent matches about his performance, and he's looked shaky. In this match overall, he looked pretty solid. I have to give him that. Just that one back heel was a little bit, a little trickery there. But otherwise, you can't really fault him. It's the team in front of him when it comes to the first half.
All of our shortcomings were on full display in that first half.
Yep.
Awful passing, stagnant or static, whatever you want to call it, up top. Just the same guys getting the ball over and over and everybody standing and watching. They had energy. Like you could tell. This is funny because to what Marquisio was saying, and I talked about it yesterday, I go, what's this energy everybody wants to talk about and running? And, if you're going to take a shot at David saying that he trots around, I go, well, it's got to have purpose, whether you're trotting or you're sprinting. Like they were sprinting yesterday, but nothing's getting done. That's why I don't give a shit about seeing who's running 4.3 kilometers in a first half of football when your first half looks like that. I don't give a shit how much you've tracked. You've done nothing. Awful passing, suspect defensively at every turn that they were coming at us. Way too many warning shots were accepted. And these guys left at halftime to jeers and boos from the home crowd. And to be honest, yeah, I was with it. People might not have the stomach for it. And they say, oh, you shouldn't go there. You shouldn't boo us or whatever. Look, if they need a wake-up call like that, it's going to happen. Omer brought it up and said, guys, he said, if they don't get the win in this game, the fans are going to go livid. I said, it's not even going to get to that point. It's not even going to get to that point, Omer.
Yeah, exactly.
I said, the second, if they look broken, if they look like they have no chemistry, if they look like they're not on the front foot, this crowd is going to be on them. And they were, rightfully so. At half, Spalletti takes off Zhigrova, puts in Chico Conceição. So we start there. And we knew that he was going to get the start. And actually, I made a mistake in the starting lineup. It was not Chico Conceição, it was Zhigrova. So excuse me, pardon me on that one, everybody. Zhigrova, Yildiz, David. Zhigrova gets substituted. We knew he didn't have a full shift in him. So we get to the second half. It's better in the second half. But it still just lacked quite a bit. And in the 48th minute, Juventus will get an opportunity here. Good build-up, playoff. Cope Minor ends up hitting this one. It stopped. The rebound goes to Yildiz, and he just absolutely destroys this thing, sends it into orbit. And I'm like, dude, that one's on the carpet rolling at you, and you're on a rebound. I expect it to at least be a shot on target. I'm not expecting you to score at that angle necessarily, but I'm expecting you to test. So that one was absolutely ugly. But again, nobody's really saying much around that one. Now you get to the 58th minute. Chico makes a great move, gets in tight, couldn't put it past the keeper. It's like that one touch just went a little bit too far. The second touch, he takes a nice first touch off a hopping ball, okay, and then turns it. But this could also mask the deficiencies ahead of it because it was a stupid cheap pass that first got cut off. And then the ball started bouncing around. We headed it, and then it ended up in this 50-50 scenario that Chico comes out of it. So like I said, I mean, we were doing better in the second half, but it was still kind of sloppy. Nonetheless, here we are. 60th minute, Openda comes in for Locatelli. So now all of a sudden you're making a change, and it's an actual formation change, not a 1-for-1. So now you're emptying the clip, so to speak, as you get another attacker involved in the game. You're pushing somebody who was at the back line further up and getting into 4-man defense. Then it actually looked better. It actually did look a little bit better. But again, these are tough games to gauge because, again, circumstances, situational. Paphos started to fade. When you spend that much time on the back foot, you start doing this as well in terms of energy. But that was the change. 66th minute. I still got to say, it's not like anything crazy ended up happening or revolutionary with it. Cambiasso cuts inside. Finds McKennie in the area. McKennie is the one. Beating his man. One quick step to the outside. That's a hell of a hit. Short side bullet.
Took the words right out of my mouth. Was just going to say hell of a strike, man.
That's a hell of a hit, man. That's a hell of a hit. So credit to him there. Nice goal. Nice goal. He had a lot of work to do on that one. He gave a lot of praise to Cambiasso for the pass. I mean, Jesus. We haven't been able to hit those 5-foot, 6-foot passes normally. So I guess we're at the point where we have to give credit to that pass. But, McKennie, that was a hell of a strike there. 1-0 for Juve. And then 6 minutes later, this is a fast break on a turnover. And Chico slots it over to Yildiz, who then puts it in the path of David. And David makes no mistake on that one. 2-0. They seal the deal. And it ends there. Get Paphos the hell out of our house. Let's start focusing on Bologna. But my God, hey, we needed that win. We got the 3 points.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of work still left to be done, I gotta say. And a lot of questions. Like, are we solving any of these questions? Are we finding any answers, everybody? We're going to get to it. Let's get the ratings out of the way, and then I want to ask man at the match, etc., and we'll get to this. So here's your ratings for this game. Di Gregorio finishes with a 7.4. Kalulu a 7.2. Kelly 7.7. Co-Miners 7.7. McKennie 8.5. Loca 7.2, Meretti 6.3, Cambiasso 7.2, Shagrova 6.5, Yildiz 7.9, David 7.1. Yildiz was your official man of the match in this game. Trimble, was he your man of the match in this game, Trim?
No, and actually for the first time, I don't think I've ever done this. For the first time, I think I'd actually have to give it to Digre, simply because if that first half, if he didn't keep the ball out of the net, I know he had some help from his post, but he did his job. He did something actually that he hasn't been doing in the previous matches, which is, he kept a clean sheet for us. And I know, again, we got lucky with a couple of posts and a crossbar, but still, the keeper's back there when your team's asleep in the first half and he's not letting anything in. He's basically telling his boys, guys, let's go. Like, I'm keeping you in the match. We're hanging around, like let's turn it around. Thankfully, they got that break at halftime to go in and regroup and come back out and change the narrative in the second half. So they did that, and that's why I'd give it to Digre, because I quite honestly have a hard time pinpointing one on-field outside player or defender or midfielder to give it to. So I just go with Digre in this case.
Di Gregorio, all right. Yeah. Now I'm going to pull something up here for you because I could tell you what somebody thought about the man of the match. Now, how come this hasn't made it through here, boys? Uh-oh. Hold on. I'll pull it up here. I don't know what's going on. But my man of the match, if I absolutely had to go with somebody, I might actually give it to Mac in this one. I might actually give it to McKennie. I thought he actually had probably an okay game. Yildiz was a constant through it, so it's really hard to not go with him. But I want to be a little bit different. In the end, Mac got the big goal, right? The big one that we needed. And he did a hell of a lot of work to finish that one off. So, yeah, I'd probably say I'm going to go with him. And what I was going to pull it is that I'm not doing it just to make this guy happy. There's Wes's Pops on Twitter. How? Question mark when Yildiz is announced as man of the match. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
That's funny, man.
Let's not start that, Wes. Let's not start that one there, John McKinney. But no, I'm probably going to give it to him, okay? If you're going to talk about errors, you're going to have mistakes in there with everybody throughout this game. That first half was a disaster, but if we're talking about performances and flops and everything, there was some bad ones in that first half. Some of the guys cleaned it up in the second half. Miretti stands out as being very, very bad in the first half. Better in the second half, but still some errors. But, you know, a lot of usual suspects there and a lot to dissect and break down. So without further ado, now that we got the man of the match out of here, let's just hash it out in Trim's segment, okay? We're going to trim the fat. Trim, give me your key takeaways and let's break it down.
All right, let's go. So for the first trim the fat, Coop needs to go back to the midfield. Like, it's a must. I'm tired of seeing him back there getting exposed on the outside. He did a good job for us for the time being, but for me, Spalletti has to figure out a way to get him back in the midfield. I think he'd be better suited there. Like you said, if we have to blow it up completely and go to a 3-man midfield, figure out a way to get this guy back in the midfield. I also like that when he did step back for us and has been playing out of the back for us, he's actually gained, you can see he's gaining more confidence with the ball and his passing and his decision-making from seeing it back there. So I almost wonder if, in retrospect, Spalletti said, you know, we need to get this guy back there to build up his confidence in terms of decision-making, because you can see it. He's changed quite a bit, even with making forward runs from the back, something that he wasn't doing in the middle of the park. He tended to just dish it off. So for me, he has to go back to the midfield. Like, there's no other solution. We have to figure out a 4-man back line without Coop there, and he has to be put into the midfield. Number 2, Cambiaso is a bench player. He is not a starter.
Hold on. Let's break down that first one. Let's break down the first one on Trim the Fat.
Sorry.
Okay.
Getting ahead of myself here.
Yeah. Pump the brakes. In the middle of the park, I'm at the point where I look at this game and you have to go with 3.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced on continuing with just 2. There's a couple musts for me. I have a list of musts for Juve. And a must is 3. 3 in the middle of the park. Co-Miners has to be in the middle of the park for this team. Based on performance of several, I'm actually going to say yes. He could still do what he's doing that is bringing a benefit from the back line without creating some of the issues that also come from that. It's not perfect when he's at the back line. And that's the thing. I don't think it's ever going to be perfect, even with him moving forward in the midfield.
Yeah.
But he could still be a guy that hangs back, helps move that ball forward, and then we go from there. There's one thing that's come out of this game that everybody's jumping on. Locatelli out of the midfield, and that's the reason things turned around and got better. Do you believe things got better because Locatelli was out of the midfield, Trim?
For this
in your honest opinion.
For this specific match, you could say yes, but I think overall that doesn't mean he loses his spot over one match, because I think he's been arguably one of the most consistent players for us throughout the year.
And this is the difficult thing, because again, circumstances or just something to go all out with. This game isn't going to play out the way a lot of other games are. there's a reason I want to go to 3 midfielders, is also anticipation of games that are even more contested than this one. And that's sad to say when they generated that many opportunities to like actually potentially hurt us, right?
Yeah, no kidding.
So you got to figure something out. Locatelli coming out in this one, it was a right call because you're emptying the clip. You're getting an extra attacker on there. So you have Chico, Openda, David, and Yildiz all out there. You're going for the goal. And in the end, McKennie's the one that broke the deadlock, everybody.
Yeah. Not
so
even
it's
the
like,
attacker,
I mean,
right?
McKennie's on the shit list for a lot of fans out there and shouldn't be out there. So we got to look at all of this and just kind of figure out what's going to be the best for the group. I have a belief when it comes to what's best for the group is actually going to put a lot of guys on the bubble as to whether they actually see the lineup or not in starting 11. But in the middle of the park, right now, based on what I'm seeing, I have a pretty definitive picture. And it's a combination out of 2 stabilizing midfielders of Locatelli, Koopmeiners, and Thuram. And from out of those 3, whoever you want to pick, I'm fine with. Okay? I'm fine with. I have my doubts about not including Locatelli in there in certain matches, but that's fine. If you want to see it, yeah, let's see it. But I believe those 3 need to play as stabilizing midfielders. You have to have another midfielder advanced in Miretti. Miretti doing the double work thing is, and I'm not making excuses for him by any means. It was not a good showing. It's not a good showing.
Yep.
But I would look to 3-man midfields. Okay? That's a must for me for Juve move forward. So Koopmeiners going in there. I'm probably going to agree with that one on with Trim. Now Trim. Second one on Trim the Fat.
All right. I'll slow it down a bit here. So the second one is, like I said, Cambiaso for me is a bench player at best right now.
So what's the statement? Cambiaso has to sit.
Has to sit. Has to sit.
Chat? Where are we at? Cambiaso has to sit. Okay. I'm fine. I'm fine with sitting him. I'll be quite honest. What's your ideal replacement?
Well, that's going to depend on formation, of course. So if we're going strictly based off of yesterday, I would move Weston over to the left side, and then we just got to find a solution on the right-hand side. Because I think Weston can do a job on either side. He's shown it in the past, so that's the easy switch up. It's just trying to find another body there, and that's why I was saying if we stick with this formation, which we're starting to see that it's not going to work in this formation, we're going to have to switch to 3 in the middle at the very least, right? Because you got to figure out a way to get... I'd like to see Chico and Jagrova both out there at the same time. I understand they're using them as direct subs for each other, but to get the creativity up, there's a world where you can get all these guys on the pitch and still have substitutes for them throughout the match. But yeah, in this formation, I put Weston on that left side.
We're extremely close to getting Bremer and Rugani back in the actual lineup for Spalletti. So if there is a theory that you have where you can fit all of these guys, you can bench Cambiaso and do so comfortably. What is your ideal setup? Because we're talking about this out of this game. Like, should Spalletti keep going and stay the course with what he's got going on, or should he make some tweaks and changes to help strengthen Juventus?
So my ideal formation, if it's not going to be a straight up 4-3-3, I'd actually go a 4-2-3-1, because you have the ability to have your 2 pivots there, which would be a combination of the 3 guys you mentioned, Thuram, Coop, and Loca. You can still have Miretti and or Yildiz in the middle of that 3-man mid-advanced, and then David or Openda up top. On the outsides, like I said, you have so many different variations and combinations you can come up with. You could have at certain games Weston on that outside left, Chico on the right. You could have Zhigrova and Chico at the same time. You could push Yildiz to that side if he's not playing in the middle when Miretti's not out there. So, like, you have so many different combinations. Another thing I wanted to mention, shout out to Lord of Fizz. And I guess at this point he's never going to get in, but Joao Mario could be also utilized in that position. I actually prefer him advanced. Yeah, exactly. I know, right? He's gone missing, I think, but that's another guy that I like him better advanced. We all know his shortcomings defensively. So if he's not a true wing back, you can have him a little bit higher in like more of an advanced midfielder, like outside mid position, right? But I think at this point, the reason I didn't mention him is because he's not getting in. I think he's gone in January. But like, we have options. And to your point, Rugani and Bremer coming back, I think that opens up a lot of space for guys out wide. Like even Kalulu, I hope we can push him out wide to the right-hand side because he's a better right back for me. I prefer him outside there with his speed and his passing. So yeah, there's a lot of options. We haven't really had a fully healthy roster to see it.
Yeah.
And consistency with Spalletti. So that's what
man,
we're thinking, right?
Spalletti. So in his words after this match, Spalletti alluded to it's all eerily similar to me, okay, with the last guy in Tudor, okay? It's all eerily similar. Sticking to 3-4-2-1, etc. But Spalletti in his post-match presser, I mean, he was asked about, he spoke even about Kalulu and just said, yeah, you know, there's difficulties defending, and it's true that we also need a right back, so Kalulu can return to his natural role and not McKennie, etc. Like, it's just, he's kind of like thinking that back four, Kalulu is a CB, whereas Kalulu's always been right back, and I don't know, it's like everybody's just got this guessing game outside of a back three where we can all comfortably say Kalulu as a right center back is his best. But I'm at the point where back three is not the best for this group of players overall. I think it sets us up in a slightly negative attitude or demeanor or approach. I think it's a bit too safe. A four-man back line, even if just Bremer or even if just Rugani's back, where does Lloyd Kelly fit in this? If we want to move Cope Miners into the midfield, is Lloyd Kelly going left back if you want to bench Cambiasso, or is he going as a left center back? Is he out there at all? Like, what are we doing? I would probably say if Bremer's back, I'd probably go with Kalulu as... I might try him on the right next to Bremer. To be completely honest, I might try Kelly. I hated Kelly at the left when we first got him, but he's also been gaining confidence, and it might not be the same Kelly as when we first got him. I don't know. There's a lot of question marks back there, but I would try something. Bremer's definitely there. McKennie, the only way McKennie is playing is as an outside player. If you shift to a variation of a 4-3-3, I don't want to see him in the middle of the park.
No, he drops back on either the left or right side, but preferably left back.
So take a shot with him on the left outside if you want to bench Cambiasso. At least he's bringing some type of impact. Whereas Cambiasso, hey, told you, calling him Casper. Okay? At least he's a friendly ghost, but he's been ghosting. So, McKennie, Kalulu on the right. Yeah, I'd probably go Bremer and Kelly as your center backs. Because Cope Miners, for me, move them up into the midfield. Try it out. Back four, keeping Cope next to Bremer. There's a lot of shouts for that. What do you think?
No, like I said, I think he did a job for us while we were undermanned in that position. But we know what his true position is, and we need to start getting the best out of him in that position. And it'll solve a lot of problems for us in general moving forward and in the middle of the pitch. So no, we need him. We need him in the midfield.
This brings me back to another one of my musts, or my statements, I guess, that I'll say, and that is Juve needs to stop looking at individuals to change everything. It is going to be in the setup. If we get the setup right for these players, and there are players that are on the bubble, McKennie is kind of one of them. What do you end up doing with a guy like that? Cope Miners is another one. Back four, do you keep him there? Do you go in the middle? You know what? Make the move. Because until you get it right there, I think we're going to keep looking at these players. And Jagrova's a prime example where everybody thinks he's going to hit the ground running. Oh, he's starting now. Here we go. Lights out. Guys, you can never look at this sport as one guy is going to just make or break and change absolutely everything. There are, guys like Roberto Baggio, Maradona, R9, like etc. Yeah. This particular roster, don't look as any one guy's doing it. It's about making the best out of everything. And I think a formation shift, now's the time. When you get your guys healthy, you get your center backs in there, it's time to make that shift. Nobody mentioned Cabal on the left as a left back too, and that's where he was playing last year when we started off the season very good. Him and Cambiasso were actually switching almost 50-50 at left back in a back four, which I like him better than a left wing back, and I like him better than a center back. And we can't forget about these guys completely. I know it's been some shaky plays, but there's also been a decent showing in there too for the guy. Can't forget about him completely. I know. And you guys, fire away. Do whatever the heck you want.
Not as a starter. He can come in off the bench. He can do spot duty, just not as a starter. All right. So the third trim the fat statement. It's going to counter what you just said. Jagrova must start. Must start. I know it might be controversial, hot take-ish, because I know Chico's been arguably one of the better players recently, but we need to figure out getting this guy. First of all, he's got to build up his fitness, but he needs to start and play with David. We need to see that Lille connection. I mean, it's no secret, and we saw it on display against us in the Champions League last year. Like, those guys tore us apart, okay? And I don't want to hear that, oh, it's a different league and different team and different game and blah, blah, blah. They did it right in front of our eyes. They've done it consistently over the last 4 or 5 years playing together at Lille. Get this guy healthy. Get this guy on the field. He's not going to single-handedly change the game, but him and David have that connection, and if you put Yildiz on the left side, they're going to cause a lot of havoc, and they're going to create a lot of damage, and I think it will be beneficial. To yesterday's game, though, one thing I just want to add is Spalletti even touched on it. He mentioned that Jagrova was kind of on an island yesterday on that right side. Kalulu and Mac weren't really helping him out at that point in the match before they made some changes. So if they clean that up, which they will, it'll come in time. You're gonna see a lot more creativity going forward, and I have all the belief and faith in that. Now, in saying that, like I said, I'm still not taken away from Chico. I still like Chico as a player. I still think there's a spot for him, but this is the coach's job. Figure it out. If you need to get all these guys on the field, find a spot for Jagrova.
Right now, no. I gotta disagree with that. For me, Chico is a must start for me. Right now, I think, I know people like him as this impact sub or whatnot. He's been right up there for effectiveness. That he's not the one scoring the goals. So Yildiz has 6 goals, 6 assists, I think right now. Yildiz is doing what Yildiz needs to do for us, okay? He's got 6 goals and 6 assists. He's the only one in Serie A with more than 5 goals and more 5 assists across all competitions in 25-26, excluding the Club World Cup. He's second youngest in Europe's top 5 leagues, only behind Lamine Yamal. Yildiz is doing what Yildiz is doing. Chico is right there for me in terms of importance for this team right now. I'm not saying that forever, but right now, Jagrova can't start. He's not there 100%. And I think the reason he looks a little bit deadlier later in the games is because of where the opposition is fitness-wise. Right now, he does not look to me like a guy that's 100%. Because when you shoot the ball, I expect it to not look like you slapped it with a pool noodle. I'm being 100% honest. The shots were pathetic yesterday.
Fair enough.
It's like he slapped it with a pool noodle. He's not 100%, everybody. So for me, if you want to get to a point, and I've always said it, Zagrova, but when I talk Zagrova, I'm talking what I saw before at 100%. I'm not talking about this version of Zagrova. Give me the 100% Zagrova, and it'll be a different discussion.
Yeah.
Right now, with where the two are physically, Chico is a must start for me based on where he is physically at the moment. In time, I agree, you could end up being where Zagrova, let him go and let Chico destroy as a substitute. And I'm fine with that. But right now, if you're telling me at this moment in time, I can't agree that right now Zagrova is a must start.
Okay.
I'd actually make the argument. I got another thing for me that these are my musts. And I'm getting closer to filling you in on what I want to do with these next upcoming matches. But I told you 3-man mid. Told you one midfielder advanced in a triangle midfield setup. We should have never ditched on Yildiz, David, and Chico up top as a trident. We should have never ditched and spent so much time messing about, because I think it actually hurt a group that is showing they can build chemistry together if given the time. And maybe it's not as quick as we all want, but I think the three of them is something we have to really let evolve. So those are my points on that one.
Yeah.
What do you think?
And to your point, we saw that under our previous manager in Tudor, and it looked pretty good. He just didn't stick with it because he was all over the place. That's a separate discussion. So the last one for Trim the Fat. I hate to do it, but Miretti is not a starter. He is one of the most infuriating players because you can see the talent there and you see what he can do well. But from the start yesterday, we saw it. It didn't go well. Yes, all the players came out of the second half, the team in general, and they changed it up and they played better. I wouldn't say they played well. They played better and ultimately got the result. But to touch on all the points that we just made about if we're ending up going to a 3-man mid, you want someone more advanced. He's more than likely the most ideal candidate to fill that spot, but I still think he needs to earn it. I still think he needs more time to prove it and be more consistent. I think that's really ultimately what's holding him back is consistency. And that's why, again, it's no fault of him. He's a young guy. He still needs time to show that he's consistent and prove it. So, to the point of the 3-man mid, I know we didn't like it at the time under Motta last year, but maybe it's Coop playing in that advanced position, and then that way you have Thuram and Loka in the pivots. But you got to figure out something, and that's why you've got a lot of depth here, and you've got some options. So for me, Miretti is still not there yet. Still not there yet as a starter.
Okay, so right now, I'm going to say that I don't disagree, but I also don't agree. Like, I'm kind of in the middle, and the reason is because I think it's going to be maybe a little bit of matchup dependency when it comes to this guy. But I think to flat out say he's not a starter, I don't think that's right either, because Co-Miners isn't going to do it for you in that position. And let's not get into going back at what we were trying to do a million times over. It just doesn't work. Thuram's not that guy either. Yep. Thuram's also, in my opinion, Thuram's the guy that's on the bubble in the middle of the park more than anybody. I know, we all know what makes Thuram tick and what makes him this guy that everybody's like, oh my God, let's go. The problem is when he's not driving the ball forward out of the midfield, there's not enough of everything else. He needs to distribute the ball. He needs to move. He needs to go. He needs to work, give, go. He needs to be a presence forward. It can't just be, hey, I drive the ball forward and that's it. I sit there and stop. Nothing else happens. That's not good enough. Right now, he's got to pick it up big time. So if there's a guy on the bubble in the middle of the park for me right now that's not bringing enough, I actually think it's Thuram. And that's why I say, like, you have options. So let's get into this. My must, 4-man backline, okay? 3 players in the midfield.
Okay.
You know I want one advanced. And Miretti is the only one I see fit to actually do it properly. If you want to stray from that, you have options. The 4-3 that I am looking at, 3 midfield. So 4-man backline, 3. If you put Miretti advanced, you're almost creating a 4-2-3-1. Okay? Chico, Yildiz, David, etc. The only alternative is you go with 3 midfielders, flat.
Yeah.
Thuram, Loka, Koopmeiners. I don't want to see McKennie in the middle of the park. Okay? If you're playing Miretti, he's always going to naturally get advanced anyways. So what are we really doing here in the midfield? It's either a flat 3 with like Loka, Koopmeiners, Thuram, if you're looking at changing, with 2 advanced players, Yildiz, Chico, Shigrova, and a striker. It's either Christmas tree, 4-3-2-1, which I'm fine if you want to give it a go and try, or it's a 4-3-3 that looks like a 4-2-3-1 because you have a central mid getting advanced. From what I'm seeing, my gut would tell me this team should look at finding a way to share the middle of pitch with Koopmeiners and Locatelli and looking to evolve from there. Because everybody is focused on calling out this gap. And Spalletti calls out this gap, and I said nonsense against Napoli about the distance. You got this big gap in the midfield. And everybody's looking at the back, and then they're like, well, Locatelli, that's a problem. Big gap there, whatever. It's bullshit. It's bullshit because the issue is actually the opposite. Look at good midfields. Look at strong midfields around the world of football. There is no interchange or interplay between the midfielders at Juve forever. It's a reason I want to go with 3, okay? These guys get forward way too quick. We did it with Max. We did it with Mota. We did it with... I don't understand. Build up together. Because if you want even him to close that gap and go forward, guess what happens? The same thing that we all bitch about. The guys at the back are stuck on the ball forever. And nothing actually ends up happening. So if you replace him, Koopmeiners is going to end up doing the exact same thing. He's going to have to drop back because somebody has to go and pick that fucking ball up.
Right.
And get it forward. So my thinking is Locatelli on one side, Koopmeiners on the other, both hanging in there, and we can interplay quicker. Quicker from right side to left side, through the middle, and up to the attack. I'm telling you, that's going to probably get us further in the long run. That's some of the things I need to see from this team. I think we can't deny it anymore. You got to go into a 4-man back set, and you need 3 midfielders. Forget about Paphos. Forget about this Napoli. Like, does Napoli just become a blip in a decent run? That's what the media is trying to say. That's what Tuttosport's trying to say today. With the win against Paphos, Napoli just turns into a blip. The reality is, like I stated yesterday, we're not in a situation where we can bitch about wins. You take the wins as you can get, but everybody can see clear as day. Napoli was not a blip. The same shortcomings are coming forward. It's about minimizing how many shortcomings you have in your game. For me, Spalletti was full of shit when he said formation doesn't matter. It 1000% matters for the group of players you have. The problem is he's got a lot of guys on the bubble in formation changes. Cambiaso, McKennie, Cole Miners now because he's doing well there. The longer you wait, I feel like we're holding ourselves back. The quicker you go with something, go with it. And for God's sakes, I don't know how you ended up on a no striker setup, but that ain't it either. Okay?
No, never want to see that again. It's terrible.
I want to see 4-man backline, 3 mids. Go from there. That's a must for me. A must. Let's see. Will we get it? Do you believe we'll get it once Bremer can play?
Well, so this is the funny thing. It leads me into not a question, but more of like a statement on our upcoming match. We all know our next match is against Bologna, someone that we're chasing. Who is the coach there? Severino. Vincenzo Italiano. How do they like to play? They're more of an offensive team. They're not one of those low block 3-5-2 teams. So would Bologna, the match against Bologna, be the time? I think it is, because you have to kind of go punch for punch with them. You're not going to all of a sudden revert to a 3-5-2 and play more defensive. Like we're saying, we need to go to a 4-man backline and try to counteract them because they're going to be on the front foot. So this would be the match. Again, it's not saying like make a drastic change, but just to your point, like tighten things up, go to a 4-2-3-1 or a variation of a 4-3-3. Again, it depends on when we're attacking and when we're coming back defending. Like it'll be 4-3-3, maybe going advanced, and then 4-2-3-1 defending. But this is the match to do it. It's against Bologna for sure, especially the way that Italiano likes to play. The more simplistic we can make it for our players, the easier. Because I felt this way at a halftime. I can't remember. It was a few games ago on a watch along, and I was losing it because I'm just like, these guys, there's too much like misinterpreted roles, I'd have to call it, and half roles. Like Cambiaso, for one, I'd go to the point of saying he just needs to simplify. Yeah. Keep it simple. If you have to stick to the outside for a game and just work that line and ease back in it, because right now just wandering around, and then when he loses the ball, he loses it, but he's in a position that's way off the flank and it throws off the rest of the team in terms of covering spaces. And that's why teams transition and they pick us apart all over the place. 4-man backline, 3-man midfield, 3 attackers balances everything out and allows you to at least push them back evenly. Cover the space. Yeah, right.
It's not going to be so easy for teams to just find spaces through us and just carve us up on the backside. Simplifying things would go a lot farther for this Juve than this 3-5-2 with a bunch of guys on half rolls and hybrid things. It's just shut it down. Keep it simple. When a team's struggling this long, when you're still finding yourself struggling for chemistry, you're December 11th, for God's sakes, dumb it down. Let's bring it back. Let's bring it back and keep it simple. What would be other than the back line, and now if we're getting healthy there again, I see no reason why Spalletti won't give it a shot or try it. I really don't. I'm just not convinced in this setup. I haven't been for a long time. Then there was this period with Spalletti where I was like, okay, you know what? Maybe this can work. Let's go. But the truth is, no, I was fooling myself because we've seen the same thing that we've always seen. Inconsistency, flashes, sporadic play where it's good. at the end of the day, this team is like a yo-yo. It's up and down. Okay? It's up and down. We got to try to find consistency. It's not coming through this ultimately. It wasn't coming through with the previous guy. It's not going to come through with you. I think it has to do with setup. And there's guys that, when you look at our positions, you look at the roles that they need to fill. Yeah, I think it's time to make a push. Something has to change. Otherwise, I don't feel like if you don't try something to change, everything's going to stay the same. So I still think you're going to be inconsistent, and I still think you're going to have drops all over the place. And I think attitude, approach, a back three, I just feel sets you up already a little bit safe. You know what? Yeah. Time to throw a little bit of caution to the wind. Not a lot, but you know what? Without risk, there is no reward.
Yeah, not Napoli match kind of caution with a no striker setup, but that was the extreme. That was one extreme, and the back three is the opposite, too safe. So we want just a little bit, in the middle.
And to be fair, I mean, our striker Gatti is out, so we gotta wait for old Gattoni there. You guys get the likes up here. Let's get into some Storm the Barn. Let's see some of the thoughts and feelings of the Army out here, okay? And let's go. Some people had given Cambiaso the man of the match due to his assist to McKennie. Were we all watching the same game?
I guess
apparently not.
Nope.
Yeah, I don't know how his name would be anywhere in the vicinity. That's an easy no from us.
Yeah.
It would be great to beat Benfica and kick them out after all those humiliations in the past. Also, can you rank the most humiliating games in Europe for us? My picks are Haifa and Fulham. Oh, I mean, the Haifa one stands out. That's
the one.
Terrible, man. That's obviously in the worst. To beat Benfica, if you're looking at the Champions League now, like we mentioned, 17th in the table, 9 points. We're going to be going for a playoff spot, okay? Whether it's seeded playoff spot or not, obviously will depend. Monaco and Benfica, to close things out. I mean, we're at the same. That's the thing. It's like you're winning. Napoli seems like a blip in the grand scheme of thing. If you were just to put out the form, you've got 4 wins, 1 loss in your last 5 games. So you're thinking, oh, just a blip? That's actually good form? But the reality is, are you confident in us picking up full points against Monaco and Benfica?
That's the thing. And I was going to also tie in that the schedule, so strange. So they're not playing their next match in the Champions League until around the 21st of January. So that's like 2-3 weeks from now. And I get it. There's a Christmas break involved in between, but it's just such a long layoff. So who knows what either of the teams between ourselves, Monaco, and Benfica kind of look like at that point, because a lot can change in about 3 weeks' time, right? But to say that I would have full confidence that we pick up full points in both matches, I would say if we're ranking it like 1 to 5, 5 being very confident, 0 being not confident at all, I would say I'm hovering around, I would say closer to a 2 than a 3. I'm not exactly like 50%. I'm like, level 2 kind of. We'll pick up points, but not full points. I
mean, we want consistency. The reality is, if you break it down and you look at 4 wins, 1 loss in the last 5, you're thinking good. When you think back to the matches, it's a lot of the same question marks. We're not 100% sold on what we're doing is the best for the group. We know we have injuries that we've had to account for that we're waiting to get back. We're hoping that these guys have an impact, help out tremendously. Bremer will be looked at in a big way.
Yeah, especially at that time.
If you look at the month of January for Juve, there is 7 games in the month of January. You're going to have Lecce on the 3rd, Sassuolo on the 6th, Cremonese on the 12th, Cagliari the 17th, Benfica the 21st, Napoli the 25th, Monaco the 28th.
That week between
Benfica, you literally have Benfica, Napoli, Monaco all on the trot.
That's a tough week 3-game segment right there. That to me is like, we like to make bold claims about, is this the season defining stretch for Juve? In terms of Champions League, that's the season, not the league so much. But that match against Napoli, like, to me, it's a must win, because Sunday was a must win and we dropped the points. To be in any kind of race, that's a must win. Ooh,
there
I love
it is,
it.
George.
That's
there it
a
is.
bold claim. I love that. Boy, George.
The reality is the work that Spalletti and the team puts in from here till that point in time will be the key as to how confident we are. That's a tricky schedule. As far as what games are at home, Lecce on the 3rd is at home, Cremonese the 12th at home, Benfica at home, Napoli at home. The rest are all away games. I was
going to say it's away to Monaco, home to Benfica.
And if you're going to want to play the Portuguese side, you want them at home at least. So let's see. My confidence level can change dramatically with this team. It could change dramatically in a half, because that's how we've been. We've been Jekyll and Hyde. It's like, I could watch the first half yesterday and be like, there's no hope, blow it up, I'm done. And then you watch second, you're like, okay, like, we need to do this, we need to do that, like, we can get there,
Yeah. So the funny thing too is, like, looking at the standings. So you said we're at 9 points. Right now, top 8 squads are at 12 points. So literally a win against Benfica in that 21st match, January 21st match and fixture, puts us in the top 8 realm. Doesn't mean we get in there automatically. Obviously, we need some help depending on the teams in front of us and who they play. But again, that just for your mental psyche, especially going into that week, knowing you play Benfica, Napoli, then Monaco, that will set us up pretty well if we can actually pull away with 3 points in that match. Like, that'd be huge. And to I forget who it was that brought up that storm in the barn, but they said, like, we would essentially eliminate Benfica, because then they wouldn't be able to make up the remaining ground in their last match. So that would be a nice statement for Juve, especially, like, okay, it wouldn't mean we get directly top 8, but to be in that conversation and just put us in a higher seeding for a playoff match, like, that's ultimately what we need to do.
Benfica is, if you take our history out of the equation, that's a very winnable game at home. I mean, they're 2 wins, 4 losses in Champions League this term. That's one where the psychology of this team really is going to be put to the test more than anything.
Yeah, it's true.
And going back to some of our theories about simplifying, that's another one of the things about simplifying a setup and getting rid of roles that maybe these players are misinterpreting or can't seem to get right, is because we need to get these guys to just the bare bones, man to man, beat the guy across from you. Do your job against the guy across from you. Let's go. Support each other. Play as a team. Get compact and fight. For the God's sakes, just fight. Half of it's right there. Half of it is right there, So simplify. But Benfica, outside of our, history in that fixture, that's a winnable game. Okay? Yeah. But Champions League, we got the wins we needed. This one wasn't pretty. Who cares? Get the results. Work on the rest and hope that maybe it gets cleaner and you get some solidity and everything. Gleison Bremer returning. Here's a storm in the barn I post to everybody. Scale of 1 to 10. How would 10 being the biggest? 10, is he going to bring instant solidarity to the back line? Do you have full confidence? 10 being full confidence, he is going to have that big an impact, and it's going to bring us solidarity at the back. 4 and 5 out of 10.
So are we basing it on just impact, nothing to do with like fitness?
All the shortcomings that we've seen and how suspect we are at the back line. Gleison Bremer cleans it up.
He cleans it up. But I'm not going to contradict what I said in the post-match of Napoli, that I'm worried about the health long term, like in terms of like if he can stay stay fit and stay in the lineup. But he definitely cleans it up. Like there's no doubt about that. He cleans things up instantly. It's just the injury scare.
Unfortunately, I'm at like maybe a 6 or 7 because he'll help it. But even before he got injured there, we looked pretty suspect even with him back there. It's better than it was like as of late now, but like he had a couple brutal showings in there too.
Mm-hmm.
One was in Champions League.
Yeah.
Where he looked like a mess too, as well as everybody back there with him. I don't know. It gets better, no doubt, having Bremer back there. I just don't know about how much, and that's why I can't stress the point enough that if we bring Bremer back, we stick back 3, and we do things all the same as we did prior to his injury, I'm maybe at a 6. If we shore up our game, utilize 3 midfielders out of the bunch we have, make a back 4, and Bremer comes back, 9.
Yeah.
For solidity.
Yeah, I think if I had to put a number on it, I'd go 6 right now as well, because like he will make an impact, but it just depends on where he's being utilized. And if we're thinking about, I was trying to think of what match it was in Champions League. Was it Villarreal that it was where because we lost that match? I just couldn't remember if he was already hurt at that point and out. I think he was in that match.
Villarreal, I believe. No, I don't think he was.
Or wasn't. Okay, so he was hurt. That's why I couldn't remember. He was already hurt at that point. So
yeah, I'm pretty sure he was not in that match against Villarreal. I could pull it up real quick too.
Yeah, no, I couldn't remember exactly. But ultimately, like if we could see, like, but he's hurt too. But if we could have seen that Gatti Bremer CB pairing in a back 4, like how often do we bring that up with Mota last year at the beginning of the season? How well they played and how much better it looked. But it's just we haven't had the opportunity to do it again. Maybe the start of the season, but obviously Tudor wasn't going that route. So.
It was Gatti Kalulu Kelly.
Yeah, that was. Yeah.
Because that was the Gatti bike, I believe.
Yes.
So, yeah, there we have it. So, again, I'm just not buying into the whole savior thing with a player. I think it's more systematic and the group. So, let's see. Yeah. But make no mistake about it. I'm pumped to have him back. And, I mean, would you rather him and just the team in general getting healthier? Would you rather him coming into like losses, draws, or 4 wins, 1 loss out of the last 5, and he comes back?
Yeah.
Winning helps the mood and the whole vibes and shit, like just on its own. So we have that at least. It ain't pretty, but who cares, right? You got to start somewhere. Spalletti. I asked the lads yesterday, if you had to make a decision on him right now, long term, like this is the end of season, would you make that decision and stick to him? What do you think? Because you weren't on the preview show, so what do you think?
So I was listening yesterday, and I took the time to really think about this, and I could see the points and arguments made for both sides. But again, I don't want to deviate or change my opinion just based off of what I've been seeing. And, I tend to sway the other way when I make a gut reaction or decision. But no, I'm going to stick with my gut here. And my honest answer is no, I wouldn't stick with him. Because I just feel like the summertime brings so much drama and speculation, and you never know who will be out there. So to exactly the same point as last season, I didn't want to handcuff ourselves to Tudor just because he got us in on the last game of the season into the top 4 to get us that UCL spot in the Champions League money, and we know how it went from there. So I'm kind of at the same point, but I get why some fans would say, no, you lock him up for at least another year or 2, like extend his contract, because he's brought in solidarity, he's keeping the players accountable, like all of that stuff I really do appreciate and I like, because it's a change from what we've had in the past couple of seasons. but I don't want to be tied down to someone right now that we're not all 100% convinced that like this is the guy. Again, for culture and all that stuff, like I understand and I get it, but I need to see, for me, I need to see how the rest of the season goes, quite frankly, before I change my mind and say, no, you lock into him.
I think if I'm looking at this, it's like, what am I more unconvinced of? Am I more unconvinced of the players, or am I more unconvinced of the coach? Like, I didn't want Spalletti from the get-go, or at least to commit to him. So I'm fine with that. Like, that we decided that's the guy we want. That's who we want to bring in for now. And I'm surprised that he took a 6-month contract. I'm surprised he took that and that's it. It's like, okay, that's a plus for us because we're not tied to him or anything. If I had to gauge it all on the work done so far right now, I think it's more positive, way more positive than it is negative.
Yeah, for sure.
I like some of the things he's doing. You said it right when you're talking about calling out like what needs to be called out. He's clearly trying to establish some standards. Him, as well as everybody, the biggest thing that I'm most unconvinced in is our office above the coach. Whether it's Spalletti or anybody else, is this guy going to be backed enough to actually, if he is trying to set the standards, establish something? Is he going to be backed enough? Or will the management get chicken shit again and just pull the plug because they need some type of scapegoat or some type of face for their shortcomings, or just to appease the masses, right? Like, are they actually making calls that make sense, that are legit, that they wholeheartedly believe, or are they just going through the motions? So with everything I've seen so far, I would be confident to continue and see what could be done by cleaning up some of the glaring issues that we have in the office, on the roster. Right? Yeah. The office, I don't know if we'll ever get that cleanup. Ferraro should go. Elkan needs to just back the hell away and not make decisions. I'm still on the fence when it comes to Comolli. Everybody knows that. We just had a target of James Gow as sporting director. This guy should never be linked with Juve, guys.
No.
Seriously. So, yeah, if I had to make the call right now, despite my feelings on Spalletti over the course of his history and everything, what I'm seeing right now and trying to gauge him with us, it would probably be in Juve's best interest, I feel, to continue for a bit and at least see some changes, because it looks like he doesn't feel like he's off the mark in what he's saying when he's talking about players, when he's talking about training, and you train one way one day and then you train the next. Like, we know what we want. At Juve, we want the old school mentality. We want that day in, day out. It's the same. It's 150%. There's no days off. Like, let's go. We want serious guys committed to the cause. That's probably the route I would go. Is probably to continue unless things change drastically. But I'll be quite honest, I don't think it's going to change drastically. He's given me, like, good feelings about what he's doing. I know that the results, now all of a sudden we got a few wins, and they're unconvincing for the most part, other than a few matches, but I'm still getting good vibes out of what he's doing, and I like the way the players are talking, and consistently. You know what I mean? It's not like one player saying one thing, another guy's coming out contradicting that. It's like, no, it's pretty even keel straight through the board in everything that they're saying. And when Kalulu came out and said, no, Spalletti actually told us, so behind closed doors, he actually told us, no, I set you guys up to fail against Napoli. That's my bad. Great. I actually respect that. I appreciate that. You could tell us whatever at the face, and I'll call bullshit and what I hear in media, which I did, when he didn't want to take any accountability, but he took accountability with the lads. That goes a long way. I have good vibes about him so far.
And at the end of the day, all that matters is like his words to the media. Not that they don't matter, but it's like we can kind of filter through that, right? So it's like, what's the message being relayed to the players? That's really ultimately what matters, because, you know, we went from a manager that was having issues with the players getting removed to Tudor, who he had a pretty good relationship with the players from what we understand and whatnot. So it's like, just continue to build off of that and not have where, you know, you're going to have it where certain players are brought in that maybe aren't fit for this manager's style of play, or he didn't necessarily want or whatnot. But like for the current present moment, if I had to decide, I would say no. But that doesn't mean I can't change my mind, and I'm not willing to. And it's not discrediting Spalletti specifically as a manager. Like, he's clearly capable. He's won a Scudetto with Napoli. It takes time. I get that. My fear is that management gives him like a 2 or 3 year extension in the summer after, you know, we scrape by to get top 4. We maybe make it to round of 16, wishful thinking in the Champions League. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I would be okay with like even a 1 year extension. Nothing long term, but I know how these guys work. Managers want security, right? So he's going to ask for 2-3 years. I don't like, for me at this point in the season, I don't think I'm there yet. But he can prove me wrong and change my mind by showing me better results, cleaning up things, like we said, with the tactics and whatnot, and let's see how the rest of the season plays out. But as it stands today, I'd say no.
Now, what do we got here? Giovanni actually asking, does anyone know why Conte left Juve originally, right before Allegri came in? From what I remember, he left us high and dry. Well, there's the famous line, can't go into a €100 restaurant with €10. Yeah. He was upset about money spent in windows, etc. I mean, it's the same Conte MO that you've seen everywhere else he's gone after. I mean, I had to laugh this season when Napoli goes out and buys everybody they can for him, and he still comes out saying, what mercato? Come on. It's the same thing with the guy every time. But the thing is, he'll build you something that you can move forward with onto the next guy, right? Nobody can doubt that. He'll build you something. He'll build you some, he'll weed out the boys from the men. He will do that for you. Stop the McKennie hate. Tuna coming out. Stop the McKennie hate. Undervalued player. Has 2 goals and an assist in the past 3 matches, but apparently he's entirely useless. Find that hard to believe. He is an outside player. I'll say it time and time again. He's just not a fucking midfielder. He really isn't. Wow. And he just doesn't have the build of your standard outside player, but
somehow he makes it work.
He's just not a midfielder. He isn't. Yeah. He does his best work on the outside of the pitch, and I'm fine to use him there. And he's been bringing more than Casper, the friendly ghost who is Andrea Cambiaso. Way more to the table. You know?
God, we missed out on big money last year with City. If we pulled the trigger on that deal, man, things would look a lot different, I think. Bringing in that cash.
It's funny, man, when we look at all this and just these players, one day hot, one day not, etc. Yeah. Being from Canada, at times, I'll be 100% honest, it's like we can't even speak to North American players because it's just all buys this, buys that, whatever. I've always tried to keep it as even keel as I am. And even when I look at moments here and I'm talking about Dave, everybody's like, oh, it's the Canadian thing and whatnot. And I'm like, I really don't think that there's Canadian bias there, etc. I've been saying that Openda, what have I always said about him? Even if you take Openda, it's like, are these guys hitting the ground running? Absolutely not. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out. They have not hit the ground running. But when you're asking me to give up on players and just say, that's it, we have to draw the line at some point. Otherwise, you are in for a rude awakening when it comes to Juventus, because if you think we're going to say goodbye to all these guys and in the summer we're going to go grab Vinny Jr., Mbappe, like, it ain't happening. So when I give critiques or I break things down, I'm looking at ideas, solutions, trying to figure out how we make it work with these players. But Juve can't just keep saying that all the players it picks up are trash. Because that ain't it either. When guys are coming to us with good, strong, healthy numbers and numerous seasons at a certain level, and they come here and it falls flat, I'm asking bigger questions. Because you can't tell me that every single guy that in turn goes somewhere else and does well ain't good enough. It's just not working. When you talk about Juve level, I've said this all the time. I fucking hate hearing how people talk about Juve level because they act as if every player on Juve needs to be a Galactico. It's not the case. It's not how Juve was always built. We need star players. You have one.
Not enough.
You have two, but one's not fit right now. That's not enough.
Yeah.
2 stars ain't enough. You know?
Yeah.
Need a little more impact. You need one more, at least one more star player in that roster. And you still need a team system that works for the group that you have. Which means you can't change coaches every goddamn 6 months or a year.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot that goes into it. Jonathan David, in my whole thing about all this. Chat, do you feel Jonathan David can turn the corner? Are you still unconvinced on him? I don't know what better way to ask the question than if an offer came in on him, would you accept it in January? I'm a no.
Well, everybody's going to know my answer, but
people are going to say no strictly for Vlahovic. But let's say even Vlahovic was fit. Let's say Vlahovic wasn't out. Would you take the offer?
Yeah. The thing with David is it's just we get a bad rep because we're a couple Canadian guys that, you know, we get to see him play all the time. And the biggest narrative that bothers me is, and it ties into your, maybe it is a Juve problem and not a player's problem, is, well, they played in a certain league that wasn't up to snuff with Serie A. But it ties into your point of, well, clearly it's a Juve thing because Cope Miners played in Serie A before he came to Juve. And he falls under this category and umbrella of new players that Juve acquired that suddenly fell off of form when he was playing phenomenal at Atalanta and he comes to Juve. And then the quick rebuttal from that crowd is, oh, well, maybe it's the weight of the shirt. And I'm not disagreeing with that, but what I'm just saying is, when are we as a fan base going to ever get to a point where we can just look at it and say, what will it take to actually change this in a positive way and make the guy succeed? Why do we have to be so quick to just be like, absolutely not, this guy stinks, he's not Juve level, to your point? It's like, why can't we think of it in a different way and in a positive way to say, okay, how can we get the best out of this guy, even if he's not your favorite player? And that's my whole thing with David, you know? And I understand that.
Well, the whole thing, it ties into Cope Miners as well.
Yeah.
Cope Miners was a toss him to the side. Well, you can make the argument, thank God he was around because he saved us at the back here over this period.
Well, nobody's going to bring that up because that's a positive thing to look at. No, because he's a $60 million left back. That's the rebuttal, right? It's like, again, like, when are we as a fan base? Because I saw this actually online. I was going to bring it up and send it in the team chat. Someone wrote a post about David. It was one of the Canadian accounts I follow. And I just went to look at the comments. And it was a lady, Arsenal fan, who said, Juve fans are the worst, the most fickle, and something else. Anyway, so basically calling out our fan base. And I kind of like took a step back and I laughed because I said, you know what? She's not wrong. And it's I feel like it's getting worse within our fan base. And like, we're now developing and building this reputation where it's like, we're just so quick to turn on players. And if worldwide, if fans from other clubs are noticing that, you're trying to tell me players aren't going to notice that? That can affect transfers. That can affect guys deciding to come and play at Juve. Again, it's not making excuses. Just we got to sometimes look at the bigger picture and think like, okay, the easiest thing to do is to be negative and just be like, write this guy off. He's not Juve quality because he's Canadian or whatever. It doesn't matter their nationality, but these guys are here and within our squad. We have to support them, whether we like them or not, and see how we can get the best out of them. So why not try that for a change?
When you look at this whole thing, I just I can't get over the fact that we can't utilize these guys. We're playing a dangerous game when you're signing guys that are in good form. There was signings before we were making that you're like, what? Like, you can't really make sense of. But when you're signing a guy that's been a top midfielder for multiple seasons, when you're signing a guy that's up there for production numbers with the elite in top 5 leagues over the span of 3 years, like, these are the signings. These are the times you want to make these moves. Those are the signings you want to pick up. So when they immediately come in, you're like, not good enough for us. It's not relevant to the times and the situation that Juve's in. Because why? Because our office has been focused on getting the numbers where they want financially. And when you're doing that and you could still bring in players that are on great runs of form for years on end, like, that's when you want to be signing these guys. So yeah, if you want to back them or you want to give up on them immediately, that's your prerogative.
Yeah. Exactly.
In terms of the fan base, I think we're fed up. We're fed up with, where it's been. It has not been to a standard or a level that should be of Juve. That we all know. That we all 100%. Agree upon.
Mm-hmm.
When we start dissecting things and breaking things down, when it comes to players, everyone's going to have their preference. Everybody's going to just be like, no, I like this guy. No, I don't like this guy. And that's just fine. That's the way it is.
Sure.
My biggest thing on this whole thing is we got to get to a point where we stop passport checking and just making a decision on that, because it's leaving me at a point where I just give you a simple critique or I give you a simple thing and it's like, oh, well, you're Canadian. What? Why the fuck does that matter? And the funny thing is, when it's people that I've been following longer than they're alive, following Juve longer than they've been alive, buddy, none of that matters. None of that matters. Jonathan David, has he turned the corner? So this is my way to everybody that says, oh, well, you're just Canadian. That's my way of saying this, because now I'm going to dive into it. Has Jonathan David turned a corner for you? Do you think he's turning the corner slowly?
Yeah, I think like any new signing, he said it himself actually in the post-match comments. I was reading them that, he's getting acclimated to a new country and a new city, new teammates. I was always of the belief, again, yes, I blew smoke up his you-know-what in the summer saying he's going to be the game changer for Juve this season. Hasn't started off that way. I'll eat it. That's fine. But at the end of the day, he's quality, and he will turn the corner and continue to do so. Like I said, I know he's a player, and he could be of use to Juve, whether you feel he's star quality or star power or not. I've always kind of fairly rated him as he's a really good striker that will produce in Serie A. It just takes time for him to adjust. I've always maintained, give him the year. Give him the year. We can assess in the summer. If offers come in the summer and they're big and the fan base wants to dump him and jump ship, by all means. But let's see what the guy can bring.
Maybe fans are, still hurt because Colomboani was the one that they probably wanted more and wanted most, which, okay,
fair.
That's fair. That's fair to want them more. But, I mean, at the end of the day, we've got guys we got to utilize. We got to find the best of. I'm still, like I said, one of my musts. I need to see Chico, Yildiz, and David play more. I'm nowhere near a point of giving up on David. I'm nowhere near giving up on Openda, just saying they are useless. Just like to the point of Tuna's Storm the Barn, McKennie being a useless player. McKennie's not a useless player.
Definitely not. No.
There's shortcomings players show you in games, and then there's shortcomings that coaches add to. Just like Spalletti told the players, he set them up to fail against Napoli. Well, guess what? Sometimes the coach is wrong too. When McKennie is used incorrectly, I put that more on the coach than I do the player. For Jonathan David, is he turning the corner? I slowly see David doing a little bit better. It's not to the level he's been at over the past few years, but to his words after the game and stuff, he's still integrating. Asked about starting against Bologna. Will you start against Bologna? He says, it's up to the coach. Go ask him. I just show up to training, try to train as hard as possible, and that's it. Remember what I said about consistency and all the guys talking the same? I like it. Because Spalletti said you guys got to train hard. You want to get rewarded with minutes in game? Train hard. There we see the consistency. Standards starting to be set. It's all coming together. David, for me, he's slowly starting to pick it up to where we want him to be. Still a long way to go from where Jonathan David was before. So,
well, the funny thing too is because everybody's bringing up Colo, I think Juve's plan was actually to keep Colo and get David, because remember, David was free. So Colo is not tied to David. Guys, we missed out on Colo because PSG was not willing to sell him to us at a fair rate. They wanted more from us. He went to Tottenham. But I truly believe Comoli's idea was to keep Colo to pair him with David. Then we wouldn't have Openda. That obviously fell through, and now we have Openda, right? But I'm still of the belief, and I've said this in a past show, and again, I know it's moving too far ahead to season's end, and we still have all this time in between, but I'm still of the belief that if there's a way to get Colo back this summer, that's the play. Let Openda walk and go back and bring Colo back.
You can't David. Let Openda walk. It's an obligation.
Obligation tied to what, top 4?
Tied to no, it's not
or is
top
it like
4.
Top 10, something stupid, right? It's like something really
it's easily achievable.
Yeah.
Like it's obligation. That's why the whole impulse buy insane.
Right.
It's an obligation with like minimal of an objective. It's actually appearances.
Oh,
everybody was saying it was standings and whatnot, but I'm pretty sure it's like just appearances. So, man, and we've heard everything. Tuna has heard top half of Serie A table. I've heard that one too. At first we heard don't get relegated, which I was like, that's an embarrassment if it was ever in a Juve contract to avoid relegation. It's just, these guys, I think we got to give them some time. Just give them some time. Too quick to pull the trigger ain't going to help either. That's one of the things it's funny because Marchisio chose David to fire shots at, but he also said that you kind of do have to give time. He almost contradicted himself because he's like, guys aren't cut to wear Juve shirt, etc. Like they're not doing enough. Oh, but hold on a second. He goes, you can't change players year in, year out, and you can't do... Well, which is it there, Claudio? Do you want to give the guys time then and maybe not shit on them because you think they're trotting, or you want to fucking give them a little bit of time, or you want to fucking pull the trigger and be Trigger Mike in Bad Boys?
So I have a quick question too that ties into Marchisio's words. I thought it was very interesting. I'm sure you saw it. Let's play a little fun game, a little hypothetical. So his words exactly were, instead of Openda and David, Juve should have went after Fratesi and Donnarumma. How would this group look today with those two players instead of David and Openda? See, right away, like the question mark is, well, who's playing striker? Because Vlahovic is hurt. Okay, let's just say Vlahovic wasn't hurt, so you have Vlahovic. But take David and Openda out of the squad. Somehow bring in Donnarumma, which I don't know how they would have done that, and Fratesi in the midfield. Quality players, but I don't like, this is the whole thing where it's like,
well, Fratesi,
everybody's talking about like Canadian bias from our standpoint. We could make the argument that's Italian bias, not that we're going to be mad about that, we're Italian Canadians, right? But it's like, I just don't see.
I would have liked Marchisio actually calling out like Cambiaso.
Exactly. You want to call out.
And it's no surprise to me that Marchisio picked 2 Italian players. That one of them makes no sense to bring into the team at that moment in time, which is Fratesi.
Yeah.
Like, I'll call it for what it is. Marchisio's showing Italian bias, in my personal opinion. Right. And that's why you got to take all this shit with a grain of salt, too, right? And don't forget, everybody, Marquisio now represents players. So don't forget that things are going to get very interesting when you start listening to that guy talk. I love Marquisio. Love him. Yeah. But, hey, start paying attention because he's starting to rep players as well. So you just take it with a grain of salt move. But there's, agendas everywhere.
That's
agendas everywhere.
We have ours apparently. Well, others can have theirs too. But at the same time, like we try to, like you said, Al, to touch on, we try to keep it level-headed, right? Like
David's got some hate going on out there. Loca's got a ton, and it didn't stop after yesterday. It was fueled after yesterday, and you know what? Yeah. Fuck, I'm out here taking the bullets. Let's go, baby. Let's go. Coop and Loca in the middle. Come on. Do you think that Bremer is at the end of his football career? I doubt he will manage to finish the season. I think that's pretty dire to say at the end of his football career, but I would also be lying if I told you I don't have concerns around the meniscus right now. But my reaction to this would be that no, he's not at the end of his football career, but Juve should be planning for life post Bremer, like now, not wait. What do you think?
I think the second that he went down again, even this year, you could make the case for the initial injury, but even this year with the little setback, like we kind of all expected that was going to happen based on the severity of the injury. And I know our boy Justin in the team, he keeps saying, suffering from an injury like that, like younger guys can recover and recuperate faster and come back just like Chiellini did. Like, fair point. Like, not saying that it's not
Chiellini
possible,
was 38.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like, he was much older, and Bremer's much younger is what I'm getting at. But my point is that I still have this fear that, he will not return back to what he once was pre-injury. And I think that's fair to say. Like, to expect him to just return back and possibly even get better is a little bit far-fetched for me. But that being said, you definitely have to plan for life after Bremer. And I would even make the case that if someone came in with a strong enough offer this summer that you'd look to possibly move him. But the thing is, do we trust our management to make the right decision in spending that money to get a replacement? That's where those are all different questions, right? But in terms of his career over, no. He will still be a solid defender, but I don't know if it's going to be at the same level.
His value is going to take a hit, no doubt about it. So Juve's not at a point now where he's seen as a top asset to sell to like build your team. Right now, you're at a point where you keep Bremer. You're going to have to keep him now, and you're going to have to build with him as well and just see what happens. Nobody's going to be coming in for the numbers that we want with this meniscus thing now. 30 years old, like that, sadly, that's kind of sailed. That's a big blow. It's a big blow for him this year too. World Cup year, absolutely no shot. He was already on the outs, and nobody could make sense of. And here you are. It sucks. It sucks, but this is one of the cards we've been dealt, and now we have to adapt. It's going to be an interesting discussion when you hit year end because, for the most part, it's been pretty steady right now to this point of the season as guys that you would look to say goodbye to. I haven't wavered on the guys that are at the top of my list, and they still kind of remain there. And I have a feeling that come season's end, it's going to be the same names. But Bremer, we're probably realistically looking at him not being no longer a top asset in terms of a sale, and keeping him and using him for what we can and seeing how this works out for meniscus, but building off of that. In the summer, I'd like to see a top young center back come in and an experienced center back come in. That's what I'd like to see Juventus do. So I would love for Juve to bring back Muremovic. You have a 50% sell-on clause. Bring him back. Left-footed, true center back. Let that be your young pick that comes in. And add an experienced center back to come in that can bear the fair share of workload, right? And the majority of workload. That's what I'd like to see Juve do when we get to that point. But Muremovic, bring this guy back. on a 50% sell-on clause, cutting the price down tremendously, that's a no-brainer. That's a no-brainer. Okay? Shut up, Justin. Berto said no more returns. That's not technically a return when you're talking about a player getting... That's not really the same. It's not really the same. But leave it to Justin to misunderstand something. Okay. What is up with the search for the next sporting director? Camoli talked about September, and Ottolini was as good as completed just a couple of weeks ago. Now all points to James Gout. This is not looking good. I stand firm on what I said yesterday in the pregame show. It's an embarrassing link to James Gow. It's a red flag for me on management. And it's also a sign that it is wholeheartedly 1000% Camoli's show. But it's an absolute shit. It's a joke. I mean, people could say whatever they want. I get it that it's your, it's still going to be Camoli's show, but I think this proves it, and whoever's coming in is just going to be a puppet.
Yeah. I'm starting to think that way too, and I don't like that if that's the case, because I don't know, Ottolini just seemed so obvious. He's sitting there. He left Genoa. It just seemed like it was a match made in heaven. He's got a good pulse on young players throughout the league. I'm having a really hard time understanding why they're not just going out there and getting him if he's available, but obviously there's a reason for it. So if it is that, Camoli just wants a yes man basically, and he's dictating and running the show, I don't think that's a good sign, because just point back to a season ago where we had a sporting director who brought in a manager that were supposed to work together. It turned out that the manager was in control and trying to get certain players, and there was infighting, and then the next thing you know, both guys are gone. So we need stability, and we need everybody to be on the same page. And Camoli, if he's supposed to be here and kind of oversee things, not in the sporting side, and you need a sporting director, bring in the damn sporting director. I don't have, like you said, I don't have faith in this guy doing kind of everything and getting his hands involved in everything. I don't know. It doesn't seem good so far.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, I guess.
Yeah, it's one of those things for me. I think it's just a red flag. It's not convincing at all. It's underwhelming. It's borderline embarrassing for this guy to be linked. And I don't like it. And it's making me skeptical about the guys making those calls. It really is.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's drug on this long is also silly to me. But people on the flip side will say, well, they're taking their time to make sure they get the right guy. The right guy is a puppet. It's Camoli's show. I'm convinced. Adding to that, apparently we are targeting another striker in Fabio Silva for January. According to Skira, a center back will only join if it's a steal of a deal. This makes me question Camoli. I mean, a striker is not anywhere near my priority list in January if you're looking to pick up a deal. And we know it's going to have to be one of those opportunistic moments for Juve to strike in January. Striker's nowhere near my radar.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of with you that I'd be questioning it, why? What's the deal, right? So let's see. We're going to machine gun a few here, though. David Scores that people are still mad, saying he shouldn't have taken a touch. Oh, you take a touch on that play, 100%. You set yourself up.
Well, and another thing I want to add, too, is hilarious to me that everybody keeps calling him slow. Well, he fucking got on his horse, and he got to the middle there and made sure he was going to set himself up for that tap.
He's got a funny body type. He's got a funny body type. I mean,
you know what it is? It's the people that are commenting on that a lot, I find, just haven't watched him play enough. And I'm not saying that you have to like the way he's runs
slow if you compare him to Chico and Yildiz, whatever. He's definitely Openda will blow him out of the water in a 40-yard dash. No chance. Sure. He's not. Pace has never been part of his game.
Exactly.
It's just not part of his game. It's not. That's not who he is, right? But where I think I get where I've seen him slow, where he hasn't been slow over past years, which is bothering me about his game, is he's slow at the instinctive stuff this year. And he's flat-footed a little bit too much.
Yeah.
That's the part that pisses me off. People are talking about like his actual pace and shit. I'm not worried about that because I know that's not part of his game. Where he's slow this year with Juve that pisses me off is these one-off like little boom bang plays where he's usually very quick to like adjust and set up and do whatever. That's where I can tell he's not where he needs to be right now. But in terms of absolute pace, no, he's not fast. He's not fast. Zdenek Grigera, better than Cambiaso. I mean,
who?
Cambiaso's fucking John Cena out there. You can't see him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, a body at this point. From the players we've signed in the last 5 years, who was the biggest flop form-wise? As in, we got them in great form, and they did not continue that form with us. In the past 5 years, best form did not continue that way. 5 years. Let me take a look at some of these transfers. 5 years. 5 years. We're going back to 2020 then?
If we're going back to, does Ramsey fall into that category of conversation? I mean,
how good was his form before coming to us? If we're looking at just form,
yeah, that's true.
It would have to be tied with expectations. Man, so Morata, Mandragora, Chiesa, biggest flop based on form, whatever. I mean, would Vlahovic go into that mix? Would you guys? It would come to expectations if you expect him to increase or whatnot.
Yeah,
but it feels harsh to call him the biggest flop. You have Arthur that's in the mix. It would have to be the player with the biggest expectations. That's why I throw like Vlahovic as one of the names. Did Arthur have those big expectations? He had the price tag of somebody that should have had the biggest expectations. Could Fede Chiesa be in there?
I didn't want to upset some people and hurt some feelings, but I mean, he could easily be in that discussion. Forza Juve points out Douglas Luiz. That's another one. I would say that, like he was very hyped up and in good form at, was it West Ham before he made the jump to Juve and like,
I might actually Di Maria.
Well, I was gonna say, I almost felt his name was in my head and I was gonna spit it out, but I was just unsure that people would come back and say, well, he delivered some moments and some key highlights throughout that season.
Those guys are probably all in the mix. But did Chiesa hit the heights we expected? He did pre-injury, so you could put it on injury. Let's take Chiesa off the board there. Coat Miners for some. Yeah. Big Tones coming in here with Coop. Douglas Luiz one. Maria, man. Di Maria. Pogba? The old Pogba return? That was Pogba, like an absolute disaster. Yeah. Did he actually flop?
Did he have hype or expectation, though? That's the thing. Like, I think we were all just,
Well, fuck, they hyped the shit out of it. They sold as many kits as they could. Fuck.
Yeah. I'm victim to that. I bought one, so.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I probably won't ultimately give it to Chiesa. Vlahovic, I still think it's a little harsh on him with some of those other names. Probably be. Honestly, I actually have Di Maria in there. I was actually pissed, and that one bothered me because I've always loved Di Maria as a player, but I felt like it was like one of those symbols for me of everything that was bothering me about Juventus and has been bothering me about Juventus, where I feel like it's been a vacation or a resort for some, and I feel like Di Maria was one that really made it look like that, and it pissed me off. And then his little buddy Paredes came in halfway through that season because Max wanted him, and he fucking treated it like a fucking resort as well.
Yeah.
Bullshit. So maybe them. What do we got? What are your views on Ramos? If the details are good, do it in January.
Yeah.
That's my
Nothing more
views.
to add. Nothing more to add. Just
If the
do it
details
the
are
numbers right.
okay, do it. Would you bring him in, but it meant you had to hold off on like Muaremovic or Thiago Gabriel, etc., like one of the young options that Juve has eyes on? If it would prevent you from doing that, would you rather than one of the young targets they have now in January, or would you still say bring Ramos in?
Yeah, so if you're talking about like being able to bring in one of those young targets in January, then I'd say no, go with the young guy, because it's a sure shot that you've got longevity there and long-term approach, where Ramos is literally going to be the 6 months, and that's probably it, if that.
Yeah. If you could still pick up the young guy in the summer and Ramos can do a job for you through, what would have more value throughout the rest of this year? Might see how I feel about Bremer there.
Yeah.
In those points. That's a bit of a tough call. But Muaremovic, I'd bring him in. I'd bring him in and start playing him like now. Delict for the flop shouts. Huh. Big price tag.
Not a bad shout.
Not a bad shout. Not a bad shout. Running his mouth a lot too, I'll tell you that. Who would you bring for center back? I mean the starter and possible. Any ideas? Muaremovic. Let's go. Bring me Muaremovic. Yeah. Let's go. What are we talking about? The one bloody time Juve does the right thing with a young guy and put a big clause on it as some type of insurance or safety net. Take advantage. Take advantage of it. Do it. Do it. That's what I say. You guys, we got a victory. Now we got to focus to Bologna. And let's finish off with this one. Okay, Champions League, 17th, 9 points. We got a little bit of a cushion, okay? Small cushion, but that's okay. A win against Benfica, those mutts. Give them one of these. But what's your starting 11 if you're in charge right now for Bologna? Let's go through this. Between the sticks, Di Gregorio. We're good there.
Di Gregorio got to play.
We're going to assume that Bremer can't start.
Right.
So back 4, back 3 for that game. Assuming Bremer cannot start. Rugani cannot start.
So if we go back 4, Kalulu in the middle with... See, this is the problem. You put... Is Rugani's like on borrowed time. Like he might not start, but he'll come in for spot duty. So if you go back forward, really your only options for CB are Kelly and Kalulu. Do we feel comfortable with that center back pairing? And then who are you going to put outside? McKennie, and I keep saying Cambiaso can't start, so he's not an option. So who do you got on that right side?
Guys are going to fucking
Cabal,
just think
Cabal on the left. Cabal on the left and McKennie as right back. Like that's really our only options, right? So I almost feel like we're forced into a 3-man back line to play that, like to start that match.
You might have to do it just for one more game.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm fine with that. Do it this one last time.
Sure.
Okay? Before switching, get your center backs healthy and fit and then go to it.
Yeah.
So let's go Coop Miners, Kelly Kalulu.
Yeah.
3-5-2 though for me.
Okay.
Yildiz, free reign as the other, partnering David up top. But Yildiz with free reign. Chico Conceição outside right to get him in. McKennie outside left. Midfield. Locatelli, Thuram, and Miretti. Miretti advances ahead of Locatelli and Thuram. That's my starting 11 for Bologna and what I would do. One last rip for good old times. And then let's get to back 4. If you wanted to go back 4, I'd slap Cope. I still don't think you can move Coop into the middle with no other center backs. I'd actually probably still play him as a left center back.
Partner him with Kalulu and put Kelly on the left outside?
Yeah.
And then McKennie has to go right back.
That's okay. I'd probably do it that
I'm
way.
saying, yeah. And then
That's
you got
probably what
Loka.
I would do if you wanted to do it. But that seems too drastic when Rugani and Bremer are close to coming back. So for me, I've always said, if you're going 3-man, it can't be this 3-4-2-1. Like, you got to have 3 midfielders. In the game against Bologna, Spalletti, have 3 midfielders on the field. Let's go. Let's go. That's what I would do. That's what I would do. But, hey, we're going to cover it all leading up into that match. Trim, I had a ton of fun today. AJC, you guys are the best. Drop a like. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And, of course, you know the drill around here. I'll keep you up to date on the news in the build-up to that game against Bologna. And then we're going to have a match day live and a watch-along. So, for now, 4 wins out of the last 5. Napoli, just a blip. Let's make it just a blip. Let's take care of Bologna and then Roma and give them the day. Enjoy the rest of your weeks, everybody. We'll reconvene at the weekend. Fino alla fine. Forza Juventus. Ciao tutti.